Caitlin Clark had enough, and this time, she made sure everyone knew it. In a tense and fiery showdown between the Indiana Fever and the Seattle Storm, emotions boiled over after a controversial and frankly dangerous moment on the court. Clark's breaking point came when her teammate, Sophie Cunningham, took a hard and questionable hit during the third quarter. The Fever were in control. Clark was drilling deep threes, and Cunningham was all over the floor with her trademark energy, locking in on defense and throwing down tough screens, but everything changed in an instant. While chasing down a loose ball along the sideline, Cunningham was blindsided, deliberately elbowed in the midsection by a Storm player who had clearly stepped out of bounds to deliver the hit. The entire bench saw it. The cameras caught it. But the refs? Nothing. No whistle. No foul. That's when Clark snapped. She rushed over to Cunningham, helped her to her feet, and then turned to the officials, visibly furious, demanding answers. Her reaction wasn't just about that one play, it was about the repeated silence from officials when dangerous plays happen. Fans watching at home saw it too, and they've had enough. This moment adds to a growing wave of criticism surrounding WNBA officiating. And with Clark now vocally standing up, the pressure on the league is reaching a boiling point. Caitlin Clark wasn't asking for answers, she was demanding them. How was that not a flagrant foul? How did it get completely ignored? Sophie Cunningham was clearly in pain, holding her ribs after taking a brutal shot. But the officials? They blew the whistle and moved on like nothing had happened. No review. No explanation. No accountability. Clark is no stranger to speaking her mind. She's passionate, competitive, and not the type to bite her tongue. And after watching her teammate take an uncalled-for hit, something in her shifted. The energetic playmaker turned into a fired-up captain, stepping in to defend her squad. You could see her shouting toward the officials, visibly upset. "That's a dirty play, you have to call that." She signaled for a flagrant review, but once again, nothing happened. Even head coach Christy Sides left the bench to demand clarity from the referees, only to be met with silence. Meanwhile, Clark didn't back down. She walked directly toward the Storm player responsible and gave a stare that said it all. This wasn't about starting drama, it was about defending a teammate who was left completely exposed. The crowd knew it too, and erupted in boos aimed squarely at the officials. Minutes later, social media was already blowing up. Sophie Cunningham, known league-wide for her grit and physical style, didn't stay down for long. Though she was clearly hurt, she waved off the medical staff and re-entered the game shortly after. That's who she is, a relentless competitor who refuses to fold. And Clark made sure everyone noticed. Between whistles, cameras caught her walking over to Sophie, offering a fist bump and some words of support. "I got you." At that point, this was no longer just about the scoreboard. It was about unity. About standing together when the league itself fails to offer protection. And it wasn't an isolated issue. Fans have been growing louder with criticism around the WNBA's officiating, especially when it comes to the physicality allowed against Indiana, and against Clark's team in general. But this time, Clark wasn't the one who took the hit. It was Sophie. And still, the referees stayed silent. It raises uncomfortable questions. Are the officials losing control of these games? Are they hesitant to make the right call when the cameras are watching? Or are they letting the physical play go unchecked just to prove a point? Whatever the reasoning, the consequences are dangerous. Player safety is at risk. And the fans, regardless of who they root for, are starting to take notice. The elbow to Cunningham wasn't just a missed call, it was a blatant oversight. And Clark's outrage was completely justified. Analysts pointed out a troubling double standard. If someone like Breanna Stewart or AJ Wilson had been hit like that, the play would have gone to instant review. But because it was Cunningham, a tough, blue-collar player who doesn't flop or exaggerate, the refs looked the other way. Fans across social media lit up the comment sections. Sophie takes a cheap shot, and nobody even checks the replay? Unbelievable. Clark had her teammates back. That's leadership. If the WNBA wants to grow, it has to protect its stars. And they are not wrong. The league is growing rapidly, with more eyes on it than ever before. But if a player like Sophie can take a clear cheap shot with zero consequences, what kind of message does that send to the next generation of players, or fans? When reporters spoke to Clark post-game, they immediately asked about the hit. Her response was calm, but cutting. "That's my teammate. She took a really hard hit and there was no call. That's not okay. You want physical basketball, sure, but there's a line. And that line was crossed today. She didn't name the refs. She didn't single anyone out. But her words said everything. Caitlin Clark was furious, and she was demanding change. Sophie Cunningham, staying true to her no-nonsense personality, simply shrugged it off. It's part of the game. Sometimes it gets physical. But the reality is, physical play doesn't mean reckless play. And stars shouldn't have to absorb cheap shots just to prove their toughness. I'm good, Sophie Cunningham said. But I appreciate Caitlin always having my back. Caitlin Clark has already taken her share of hard fouls this season, elbows, body checks, even borderline flagrant contact, with minimal reaction from the officials. Now it's Cunningham on the receiving end of a blatant, off-ball hit, and again, the whistle stays silent to the so. What's really going on here? Is Indiana being targeted? Some fans think so. Others believe the refs are simply struggling to keep up as the league faces more pressure, more viewers, and more media attention than ever before. But whatever the reason, the impact is dangerous. Because when players feel like they are unprotected, that's when they take justice into their own hands. And that's how situations spiraled. What's even more concerning is the league's silence. No statement from the WNBA, no official review, no indication that the hit on Sophie Cunningham will even be addressed. That lack of response speaks volumes. In a league that's pushing hard for growth, viewership, and national respect, this is the kind of moment you can't ignore, because this wasn't just a missed foul. It was a message. And by staying silent, the league sent one back. We're not listening. If the WNBA wants to protect its stars, its veterans, and its rising talent, then this is the moment to act. Because right now, the Indiana Fever are sending their own message. They're not just here to compete, they're here to protect each other, with or without help from the officials. Caitlin Clark just showed she's more than a generational talent. She's becoming the voice of accountability. Sophie Cunningham proved she's tough, relentless, and not backing down. And the Fever? They're rallying together like never before. That no call may have lit a fire under Indiana that the rest of the league isn't ready for. And if the refs won't step up, the Fever will step in, for each other. What do you think? Was the hit dirty? Should the player who delivered it face suspension? And is the WNBA doing enough to protect its athletes? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on everything WNBA.